Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I am on the case. I feel like law enforcement and we are definitely running the clock. So at this stage in the Nancy Guthrie case, we are no longer in the discovery phase. We're in the decision phase at this point. Investigations don't move randomly. They pivot at different pressure points, like I mentioned in the last video. And those pressure points are very controlled. Episode 7 was examining the control nodes in this whole case, the moments that force it to kind of turn. And there was a lot of development as far as today was concerned. As of Wednesday, 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there has been a POI, person of interest, that was detained in Rio Rico. So all the media are currently down in Rio Rico, which would be about an hour or less than an hour away from Nancy's home, Nancy and Annie. So let's see what's kind of like forcing this shift. There was a mention about a ransom, a partial payment, and I discussed how that could have been used as a way to track or GPS, or bait someone into making a move. And that would create a different shift as well if there was a group involved, right? So there are only 5 things that really move a case from what I can understand, from ongoing to a defined outcome, which is what we are really trying to get to. But it seems to be like, we haven't got any definitive answers right now. So some of the decision triggers: 1, a formal arrest with charges. This person of interest, I think they keep calling him like a subject, not necessarily a suspect, and that's what they did. And I feel like they're doing that to be careful, but it's also maybe an effort to get other people to come forward. Now, another decision trigger would be a confirmed recovery. We still have not received any proof of life, or anything that we could recover from Nancy's person outside of any DNA. A plea agreement or some type of cooperation deal. Now, this is where I think those other cards that we're about to get into, why certain cards keep popping up. And I was thinking that it was one thing. Now I feel like it's getting clarified. If we do get a confession from someone, it's going to be an effort to halt an investigation further, which I don't know if at this point they'll be able to hold it back. But that is what is being threatened, or it feels like it's being threatened right now. Federal jurisdiction shift announcement could also play a part in why they made the decision to do the Bitcoin move or whatever. So until one of these occurs, usually the case remains strategically just suspended. Now, we've gotten some information, but again, we're still waiting on this press conference. And generally, in high profile cases, the clock is not emotional. Like I said, it's very procedural. So some of those things that may control the clock: 1, anything that they may get back as far as like digital tracking results. They've gotten some information. So now everybody has been reported to be down by this person of interest house, and agents from both bureaus, I think, are down there. They've been searching the car, something about that. Now, forensic lab timelines may be another thing. That's a clock controller. They may have gotten information about, I don't know when they confirmed the DNA to be Nancy. This is the first time that I'm reading that, but I don't know if they found that out before. Let me know in the comments. Prosecutors may control the clock here if they know something that we don't, whatever. Federal investigators in general. Okay. So interrogation outcomes can also be a thing. This person could be in custody for, half a day. I think they can hold you for up to 24 hours without there being like a full reason. If they find something, I guess, during that search time, I think they can extend that time. I don't know, but I just know that especially if they don't call a lawyer. If they don't start moving like that, then they can just keep them there forever. So what would signal a rescue mode? Now, this is where we kind of need to see what's going on. Like, the movement that we're seeing is very urgent. There's a large packs of people moving now. So, active search perimeter expansion, which we have seen, they've moved to Rico Rio. Some type of negotiation language from officials. We have not received anything from the Guthrie family. Uh, we have not received much from the sheriff's office or the FBI. Any repeated proof of life framing, we still don't know anything beyond that. Like, we don't have an update on the pacemaker, any updates on her vitals, we still don't know. Emotional appeal escalation. We haven't seen a shift from any of the family members. They haven't done any impromptu messaging. So, what would signal a situation where there's like a recovery? We got to think about this because I'm going to do some questioning and I want your help in kind of deciphering this. But what would signal some of the things from recovery would probably be maybe like warrants. So new warrants, which it seems like they've gotten a couple from this persons of interest. I think their mother-in-law, they've gotten this warrant. Focus on timeline tightening, or actually, I don't think they got a warrant for that because the mother said she wasn't hiding anything. Now, there could also be something as far as recovery that they're concerned about when it comes down to timeline, tightening up that timeline that we talked about. Like, if they are able to fill in certain gaps, then we can see different things play out as far as like a sense of urgency also. Okay. Now what could also be a signal of recovery if there's like a reduced public emotional appeal going on, which I feel like that is what we're seeing. We have seen that they've expanded the warrants and the terrain grid searches. We have been seeing that they focused on, or I'm assuming thus far, since the reading has been showing a lot about timestamps and timelines and history and call logs. So there's obviously something going on there. I think there is some type of glimmer of hope, which is different than what I had been interpreting earlier today. There could be some glimmer of hope that the family or authorities are trying to hold on to, even though it looks grim. Something could be making them feel like they have access to something or there is a major lead. Now, if this is a story that I think has a lot more expansion and a lot more legs to it, they could just be trying to devise some type of mission to overpower some group. Okay. And we're going to get to what that group is. Now, if information, if it slows down right now, is not accidental. Okay. So those two possibilities that I was mentioning before, they could be waiting for some forensic confirmation. They could also be closing like a procedural loop before acting. So these decision points aren't loud, they are just super calculated. All right, let's get into this little cluster right here. The first card that came out, and I really did feel like there was like a strong kind of presence or frequency, I'll say, as it related to Nancy. Not necessarily saying that that points to proof of life. It's just more so about like her energy, I feel like, is stronger. Maybe because she's stronger over on the other side than she is in this physical realm. She, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But I am helping solve my case. My own case is the first card that came out. Cult protects against all costs. So that's again what I was mentioning about, like, maybe there is some type of organized conspiracy to where, the intention is to follow through with an order, and the order comes from very, up top, and it's secrets above everything. Loyalty. All right, now there were spiritual contracts here. I don't know if this is gonna get into an involvement where they're gonna bring up like Santa Muerte, which could be an interesting angle. They could also just use that to be like fanatic or salacious, almost like satanic panic, to create a stigma for a specific group. Okay, now we also have boat or watercraft. There could have been an effort to get to that. Like, I feel like they've been using different modes of transportation. Communication could have been used and done, like phone calls. Like, say there was a ransom to the family and they said, I need you to call the governor of Arizona and then get X, Y, and Z done, and have the governor call X, Y, and Z. Or by the time they do that thing, they'll call the governor and get him to call somebody else. There's something about like the chain mail of communication. Now, the delivery truck came out here again. Extreme hot and cold is out here in reference again. So there could be something about the temperature change. Perp walk is incoming. This was again at the time that I had done the reading for the person of interest. So that was around like 10. But we could be seeing some additional arrests. Day one is significant. Okay. There's something that happened on day one. Military boots. This is what kind of concerns me, because I'm wondering if there is another omnipresent kind of like entity that is, moving around. This is a large field. New statements being made just could be in reference to, questioning that's happening right now. Decapitation is here. That's super significant. I don't know if this is something that would be considered to be like a punishment for someone if they did not protect this cult at all costs. Okay. But let's get into more of this reading that I did some clarifying for. So we have, again, off to the side, we have cold wind with no source. They could be following the wind or going where the wind blows, something about that. But this is a family issue, or that's still being called into question about like how involved the family is. A cyber attack leading to death. That could be in reference to the ransom, whatever. Justice delayed but not denied. Emergency call history from a family member. I don't know. We need to look into this. I've been saying this before about that family member phone call or somebody important who called 911. We need to look into that conversation, because I don't know why it could be significant. Now we have private jet. Okay. High profile arrest. I don't know if somebody's escape route was this, or if there is another person involved who this has been another form of transportation that's in this whole operation. I don't know. But at the center of the reading, we have closing in on the perp. And right next to that, this is connected to larger peace and rescue, recovery, resolution. Again, these cards are coming out like this: animal attack or stage. This is something that was coming out in the very, very, very beginning, early readings that I did on this. And I kind of felt like that was like out of place, not really taken into consideration of the terrain and where they're at in the middle of the desert. There are known to be like mountain lions, hyenas even. So who else knows what's out there? Now the first 48 is out here. And then we have organized crime member. Traffic to the elites is right next to it. Okay, so there could be something. And I did see this in the last reading, but I wanted to hold off on it just to kind of get confirmation. I was seeing something about there being a connection to the underground possibly, and that being a mode of transportation to transport from one area to the next. Now we know what exists beneath us, but I don't think people really consider where or how quickly someone can go missing if there are tunnels underground throughout the entire country. And we do have some conflicts going on near the border. There are some Latin American countries that are also, may have issue with certain things. So as far as eliminating someone or at least concealing them for a period of time, that is definitely a possibility. Okay, let's move right along. Now we have subsurface density changes. This could be in reference to that cold wind or cold cold air, cold climate. There could be something about that that helps preserve something. Cold is used to preserve. Medical malpractice, planned or negligence. Now, this is where I'm wondering if there's an issue with like elderly abuse, because there was a photo of someone that supposedly posted on X saying that they had taken a picture of the front door either at the time of the crime, which would make sense if it was like reported on or after like February 1st. But there was mention of it possibly being beforehand. So if it was beforehand, there could be, some red flags here as far as like who the caretaker is of Nancy, who or lack thereof, something about that. Now, full report, GPS coordinates logged, still living. I don't know who is still living. Again, I do feel like there's more than one person involved in this situation. So whether that's like victim, perp, it's a lot of different situations going on. Missing time block is here. Death in custody is here. False justice, someone paid off. Again, this is what I mean about like them hiding or trying to conceal things, protecting the code against all costs, like protecting whatever this group. Doing certain things like this would make it easy for you to just like send someone off to jail, like for 5 years or whatever. Give them a good lawyer, especially if that's where, if money is involved. Again, this is all speculation in this point. We do have accident turn intentional again, but I feel like, that could kind of be debated at this point. Now, there was something about starvation or dehydration that could be a major concern, or something as to why people may think that she could be still alive, but in this type of dire condition. Weapon used as a symbolic message. Okay. Now, this is where it kind of goes back to some of those earlier readings. There was cash out suburban home. I think somebody thought that they could cash out on that suburban home. Maybe they thought that there was more money, more equity in the house or something like that. I don't know. Maybe this is some type of like assumed wealth that has gone awry. Maybe they asked for too much money. That's what I'm also seeing. Expensive suit, dressed to impress, intuition ignored. Somebody knew something. Maybe they realized like this wasn't going to work at one point. National security issue is right here. They're still trying to define whether or not this is a national security issue. I think it's like kind of speculating or looming in the background. But again, authorities do not want to alert the public and alarm people and like that. Now we have constant lying. And then the final card that I have for this was charismatic liar. Okay, so there's somebody who knows how to lie well, or at least they think they know how to tell a good lie because they look good doing it, but they look very guilty, as it showed in the other readings. There was something about like somebody looking guilty, and we're gonna get into that when we get. I want to dissect the text message, and then I also want to get into the timeline. I think I'm gonna kind of like take a break once I get to like episode 10. I think I'm going to take a nice little break and just kind of let some new things develop before I dive back in. I think I already mentioned this before, but that will change if there's like a major development and a press conference to follow. Okay, but I do want to lay out all of this stuff so it can be here as these days move along. Now, let's try to see if there's anything else that we can check with Spirit. Okay, has the primary decision already been made internally? Septic or drainage modifications? Septic or drainage modifications. What are the chances? Red heels or shoes buried alive? Okay. This is where it's like the water thing again. I don't know if they are expecting to find her in water. Something could be significant about shipping containers. Cryptic note or message. Buried alive is here, but I'm wondering if it's like them trying to figure out if she was placed somewhere while she was still alive. Cult leader is here, strangled with hands or an object during a major event. Gut feeling ignored. Again, it's a lot of people who could have ignored their gut feelings about certain things, actions. They could be reflecting on their own personal actions or things that they ignored as like red flags. A bicycle could be left behind or be significant. This card has tried to come out quite a few times, so it must be significant. It wants to be seen. We have in over their head. Somebody is in over their head. They cannot believe that this is happening and playing out like this. Okay, is law enforcement waiting on one final confirmation? Like, are they waiting to get like some, what are they waiting for? Files wiped clean. They could be trying to reverse engineer some other files that wiped clean. Something came up in the last reading about somebody's phone or deleting messages that they thought they could delete. But again, it's like you don't watch any crime videos, do you? Their spirit hasn't crossed over, okay? Okay, Nancy is still present in the sense of her energy, okay? Emergency vehicle used. I think there could be either this is an indication of like a coroner or a medical examiner truck being present, or some type of white medical truck to transport a body. Sorry, mood swings and hot temper. Somebody could have a hot temper. Something about undercover cop uniform. Somebody posing as a cop or trying to either something like lie to a cop. I don't know. Land hexed generations ago. Okay, so there's some karmic energy here. Will the next public update represent closure or an escalation? Death faked. Person is in hiding. So that could still be an option. Maybe that is like a possible thing that they're exploring. Like, are the blood splatter there as a point to cause for alarm, to almost set it up to look like something more has happened that's a little bit more detrimental and she's fine? Again, highly doubt that, but we definitely know that somebody's in hiding. Multiple people could be in hiding. Unknown hidden underground. Man. Unknown hidden underground. I don't know who's underground, but they did something underground. I'm seeing like a train underground, and her being on it, or people being on it, or transporting themselves from one part to the next as fast as possible. Difficult to scrub. Something is difficult to scrub. The judge could be under a lot of pressure when this comes out. Symbolic jewelry is here again. Is cooperation occurring behind the scenes? Are people finding that they are, getting the details that they need as detectives? Throw them off the scent. Okay, so they could feel like they're on a wild goose chase right now. They could feel like they're they're acquiring a lot of leads, but a lot of it is leading to nowhere, but they're trying to cover all their bases. But again, while they're doing that, they're wasting a lot of time, or not necessarily wasting time, but a lot of time is being lost. Resources are being stretched thin. Kidnapping, the cover up for the accident. Kidnapping, the cover up for the accident. Message for the public. Okay, so we're going to get a message for the public soon. A message for the public. I wonder if this is coming officially from like law enforcement with all this collected evidence, or if this is going to be another message from the family. I hope it's more so from law enforcement and we get some official details. No vehicle, on foot. So somebody could have been on foot from one point to another. I mean, this is how We see this supposed suspect at the front door. We don't know how he pulled up. It wouldn't have been smart to really pull up with a car. But as far as the exit is concerned, that's still up for question. How did Nancy leave the house? We have ritual requirement specific, zodiac, or date. Okay, I think this is going to be great for one of the other filler videos that I want to do. Is timing being managed intentionally? Is time being managed intentionally? We have insurance policy changes. Again, this came out at one point. Booby trapped environment. There could be some plants that law enforcement has set out, even just like decoys or sending even the possible suspect on a ruse by securing certain locations and then moving to kind of look like they're not paying attention in one direction to throw things off to see if somebody's going to move from that. Like those are all things. So has the trajectory shifted from rescue to prosecution? Look at my phone. Look at my phone. Contracted betrayal. Contracted betrayal. Now, there was something that came up in one of the readings that I kind of ignored twice because it came out twice and it just seemed so out of place. The love triangle card. I was trying to figure out if that was in reference to Annie and Tommaso's relationship status, like maybe they're on the rocks right now. But then something came to me about possibly there being like a relationship with the bandmate. And this was a way to take advantage of the relationship that Annie had with what is perceived to be inheritance of money. So I don't know if this is out of revenge or if this is like just a planned thing with like a third party or if this is just an accident. But either way, I do feel like with the level of people that seem to be involved just thus far, that bandmate could be very significant. Okay. And have closer relationship because there was another card that kept coming out and I kept trying to like generalize it a little bit. The card about it said a best friend betrayed and then like best friend. It was something like that. So is the bandmate considered to be his best friend? I would kind of like think you guys are at least very close. So is the public narrative lagging behind investigative reality? False alibi planted. Okay, so I think the public kind of believes that there's either a false alibi that was given to someone or either we're going to be fed a false alibi about somebody. Active source energy. Okay, not guilty. Justice delayed. Open and shut case. We have hit and run and then close friend. All right, I don't know where that's going to take us, but as you can see, this episode isn't about suspects. It's about power and who holds it at this stage, okay? So at any given point, the next official movement in this case, you know, could be announced. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to be random from what we see. So when it happens, we'll know exactly which node shifted. All right. So I hope this resonated with you. Make sure that you like and hit subscribe if you are new. I will see you in the next one. Love you.